I've met Linda Mason in around 1985 or 86 in Paris. I was then very young, assisting a hairdresser, as I was a hairdresser myself, working for the fashion shows of Yohji Yamamoto and Comme des Garçons. At the time was the most outrageous designers of the time. Amazed me how she wasn't really doing a conventional makeup on a face, but was using a face as a canvas and not necessarily respecting the facial structure as a cosmetic tradition would normally do. When I came to New York in 1997, I worked, I think, once or twice with Linda on photo shoots and magazines. To me, she was the ultimate god of art and fashion, beyond fashion, avant-garde, way ahead of her time. This project that you're seeing here is about 3 years after I came out of my Jiva Mukti teacher training, very excited for the art of body yoga, which became my new career. A logical expression of the many imageries and aesthetics that I came from. I wanted my visual taste to become also my health, and I wanted my art to be a contribution toward helping others not only seeing beauty outside but from within. And I thought the combination was perfect. However, I could never really completely get out of my sense of sound and vision conceptions, very much inspired by people like Linda Mason, who also eventually, probably logically, reminded me of my first influences coming from the 1970s period. David Bowie. David Bowie remains to me the prophet, the writer, the interpreter of the moment beyond a rock and roll singer. Gender fluidity, human art, tribal textures, dance, musicality, the eclectic beyond the traditional to ground into its logic conclusion any discipline. When we were doing this project, we were with old friend, client, ex-hairdresser, photographer Grace Zisser, who was actually shooting pictures right here while I was doing these movements. But I had put my iPhone generation 3 on the floor just because I would be so impatient to see the results, and I knew that it would take time for Gray to edit or give it some time because he is a very, very busy fashion photographer, advertising photographer, and filmmaker. not knowing at the time that eventually I was going to be able to filter and brighten the colors and re-edit this project today. We talked a little bit. We had some sort of a plan with Linda. I said to Linda, maybe ideally that would be good for you to paint me when I'm holding a pose. To the left, she had pots and cans of paint and brushes, very much like brushes that you would use to paint a wall or a canvas. And I started this spontaneous freestyle flow of yoga poses and transitions that felt right in the moment, minding the fact that the camera was on the floor and also on the left side with Gray, to try to give them some sort of harmonious vision of Linda's work in conjunction with the position of my limbs. In my tradition, I give yoga students a lot of adjustments, and her brushes felt as if she knew exactly where I needed to align. It was a very hot day, and while she was stroking these brushes through my limbs, it adjusted my energy and my posture. I had no idea if she really knew that. Linda didn't practice yoga, although her daughter, Daisy, years later, after this project, was in one of my classes in Brooklyn. And after a few classes, she wondered if I recognized her, as I've met her as she was a child. Now she was a grown woman, saying that she loved my class and that she was Linda Mason's daughter. As of today, I branded my philosophy of yoga, yoga from Mars, inspired by the pop art of David Bowie, Andy Warhol, Velvet Underground, Picasso, Bauhaus, name it. And I found that I had already done a movie for Yoga from Mars years ago with Linda Mason, who makes her own makeup. Her company is called The Art of Beauty, and lindamason.com. On this canvas next to her, a great painting that she had let me put into the background. And I feel like I'm sort of like the painting coming out of the canvas, and seeing Linda unconsciously being the yoga teacher with paintbrushes and colors. What is amazing about the way she paints here, she does not get attached to the last fantastic line and parallel that she has painted, producing a form that could last forever to be looked at. At the contrary, she accepts the impermanence, allows herself to forget the last bit of genius that she has painted, and paints over it another color, from dark to mid colors into bright colors. Like we paint a wall so many times, maybe you see a white wall in a beautiful gallery without knowing that this wall was once black red, orange, yellow, green, blue, silver. But by looking at it in its last appearance, in the moment where you meet the wall or the canvas, you can only believe that it is that color which is maybe, as an example, white, neutral. And yet white is the color that contains all colors. This is all very, very metaphoric for the yoga practice, as the yoga seems to be the postures and the perfect alignment of the muscles. But coming to these poses, one comes to a sort of persona, and yet moves into another that one might not do or express as well as the one before. But practicing being in that characterization of the posture. Just like, for example, David Bowie started as a very normal folk singer and then eventually found that he had to exaggerate to be heard, to be noticed by a generation of people who were kind of blind and stuck on their television set, trying to have a good job and live a good life, being normal. He showed them that it was okay not to be normal, that normal was very relative, that it all depended on your point of view. And Ziggy Stardust was very, very made up, very often misunderstood as David Bowie trying to be a woman. In fact, it wasn't the case at all. It was more like a theater, like right now Linda is making this coloring thing on me, and I'm no longer a male nor a female, but a trunk, head, arms and legs, feet and hands and fingers. I called her, sent her an email, I think. I included Gray in the email and I said, I had the dream that you were painting me. We can do it in the back of my studio. I just couldn't believe she even said yes. I sat somewhere by the Lower East Side Park in Chinatown, and I looked at the result of this little movie and I cried. Namaste. This is yoga.